Hello, welcome to Have a Go, and I'm Alan. And today I'm going to talk about why I'm not happy with this headstock. So we'll work in reverse order from how things have gone. I'm not happy with the boring job that got done in this. The finish, well, you can't really see it because the angle's bad, so I'll bring it out. The finish in this end isn't too bad, it's usable. The finish in this end is rough as anything. Hopefully you can see that. Now, it could be down to the fact that I'm not getting very good skim passes when I'm doing them, if I'm honest. It is probably more due to problems underneath, which I'll get to in a second. I'll just take the bearing caps off. Notice anything about these wear pads? No, of course you can't. Right. When I was scraping in these wear pads, I gouged a couple of them. I gouged them in along here and in here fairly badly when I was experimenting with the flat disc sander. I experimented with filling the gouges with JB Weld because if I had brought them down to the level of the lowest point of the gouges, it would have been about level with this part here, and then I would have had to have flattened the whole underside of it. So that was something of an experiment to see if I could get away with filling in this wear pad with JB Weld. And I can now say the experiment was a failure. Because while you can drill and tap JB Weld, and it works passably well in lead screw journal bearings, it is no good on a wear pad, because I can already see along here, I don't know if you can, blasted light, but you can see where there's little bits of craft have collected in the front of it, and it's slowly dug into the JB Weld and pulled along here. I don't, let me just check. I don't think it's dug into my ways yet, but I'm going to call this now because I can safely say that JB Weld on wear pads does not work, or at least it's not worth pursuing. The other part of using the JB Weld here was I found that when it was on here and the forces were acting on it by the rod, I'm pretty sure that's part of why I got such a bad surface finish in here, because the JB Weld, I suspect, was elastic enough that with the forces involved, yeah, it was shaking slightly, because I found that I had to clamp down my clamp pads tight enough that it was really gripping onto the ways here. It needed quite a bit of force for me to move along. It also makes me wonder long term, if I have this on my lathe as a headstock, they're going to be resting on this JB Weld. And how is that going to affect the rigidity of my headstock? So all in all, that's why I'm not happy with this and why I'm going to scrap it and start again. Some people have said, well, why don't you just rebore this? You can just shim your bearings. And my answer to that, the thin side of the headstock is already to the point where I have to put a shim on the top of it. You may have noticed in past videos. I had to actually shim the top of this to get the bearing to fit and not slide out. So if I bore it any further, the bearing will be bouncing around in it like a ping pong ball. Because I also suspect this is actually out of alignment along here, because I can't tighten this down properly. Now, something that I've come across in machining YouTube is what they say is the importance of doing everything in a single setup. Like if you're going to do an operation, then you do it without changing any of your setup. And when I was boring this jolly thing, I'm sure you remember how I'd had multiple videos of me boring this blasted thing. And in between each video, to set this up again and realign it and all that other kerfuffle. And during which time I wasn't doing everything in the same setup. So this is the plan going forward. Part of the problem goes right back to the pattern, because this isn't a 20mm hole here. Partly because at the time I made this pattern, the biggest drill bit I had was 13mm. You can kind of see where I tried to make it a little bit bigger, but that failed miserably. So I'm going to clamp this together so it's aligned, mind you, and drill it out with what I now do have, which is a 20mm drill bit. And to be honest, after me drilling through Zamac with the bit, it'll probably think that this wood pattern will be a day in the park. So drill both of these out, hopefully with them clamped together so that it'll be in one straight axis. So at the moment I have my severe doubts. So that'll be one, so that's another part where it went wrong from the beginning. And I'm also going to check these, because they're supposed to be a quarter of a thingy tool, 6.35mm, and I have a strong suspicion that they're higher, that these wear pads are actually deeper than 6.35 wasp names. So I'm going to check that with my good dial calipers, where it's actually easy to check these things, and then if it is higher, then I will take it down on the wooden pattern, because I found that with the first casting I had to actually bring those pads down when they're made of metal, where it's a lot harder and more of a pain in the bum. So I'm going to take these down to 1/4 of an inch, drill these out to 20mm and have them aligned straight. Then I'm going to recast the corrected pattern, sand and scrape these a lot more carefully with no flap disc this time, so that the pads come out flat and completely metal the whole way along with no JB weld. And then sand the top of this using the glass plate method from the beginning rather than mucking around like I did with the other go. And then after I get the bearing caps on them, put them onto here, and I will dedicate an entire day to boring it out in one go. I'm going to measure the lengths involved, because I need the length. If I have enough length, once I bring this in closer and bring this all the way out, I may even have enough space to have a third support here, so I can line bore it with this being supported from both ends. But I have to check whether I have enough room. I'm not 100% on that. That's the plan of attack going forward. Scrap this, start again and do a proper job of it. I don't really want to spend any more time on this because of the problems I mentioned before. So, start again, do it properly, and hopefully it'll come out a lot better. So that's me explaining why I'm going to scrap this. I know a lot of people are probably saying, but what if you just, and well, part of it's down to the sunk cost fallacy. I don't want to spend any more time on this when I'm not even sure it's going to be worth it. It's like gambling. You know, maybe if I just put another $10 in, I'll win this time. Maybe if I just keep boring this, I'll win this time. Same thing. Bit of a bugger, but yeah. So, thank you for watching and have a nice day.